So welcome to part 2 of my coverage of the Spring 2019 Fujiya Avic Headphone Festival here in Japan. So after a long lunch in which I was almost defeated by a file transfer which would never end, I am finally here on floor 13F. And here I'm looking at, I'm going to try and find Astel & Kern just to check out the new Astel & Kern Cube that was just announced, and we'll see if we can find anything else interesting as well. So let's check it out. Now we have a whole bunch of exhibitors here. I would have loved to stop by at every single display, because there's quite a few, but unfortunately today we're just going to be able to make a few stops thanks to time constraints. So not only are the Japanese serious about their audio, they're very serious about protecting their audio with accessories. And here we have the Van Nuys display. And in particular, I wanted to point out the case they have for the Sony DMP Z1. Just in case you wanted to carry that around with you portably, you finally have a solution. So here I am at the Music with Kakugai display. And it's pretty amazing because on the left side here, we have DIY headphone projects, including what I've been told is an electrostatic headphone project, which is pretty amazing to see. And then on the right hand side, we see all this vintage equipment here, including a whole bunch of old Walkmans and Discmans. So if you're a big fan of that sort of vintage format, you'll be happy to hear that there's still a big following in Japan. So we have here a DIY headphone amplifier. It's pretty amazing. I can't speak to the efficacy of the various parts that you see inside the amplifier, but it is definitely an amazing project here. So we've entered a much larger display hall here with Astel & Kern. I think I also see Campfire Audio off in the distance there, so we might have to make a stop over there. Over there is Aureolus, a Japanese brand that I've been interested in trying out. And then we have all sorts of other projects around here as well. So here I am at the Campfire Audio display. Now the guys here at Campfire Audio have just flown in, so they're still a little bit jet lagged, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to bother them because they have a new product that they're launching here at the show. It's the Campfire Audio IO. So we're going to take a closer look at that.
Can you do that? I can do that.
So here at the Campfire Audio display, we have the new IO. Now I was expecting from the press pictures that it was kind of going to be a brilliant Iron Man red, but it turns out to be a kind of more subtle, darker red, sort of maroon color. I think it's quite nice actually. It's a little more sort of classy and sedate than I expected. We also have the Polaris, or I guess the Polaris Mark II. And this is with a dark blue shell, and you see this dark stainless steel nozzle. This looks really brilliant, I have to say. In a second we're going to have a chat with the Campfire guys and we'll talk about what's going on with that. And then we have the revised Andromeda. I think a lot of people are going to be excited about this. I know that this is one of the most popular earphones out there, basically, in the kind of kilobuck range. So we see some revisions with the shell, a new cable. And yeah, we're going to have a chat in a moment, but first let's have a listen. So just listening to the new IO now, I've been told it slots in just below where the Orion previously sat in the range, but above the Comet. In terms of sound, I've been told that they're targeting sort of more an exciting sound, and definitely that's what I'm hearing. It's not the kind of sort of flat dual balanced armature sound that I'm used to from the Orion. This is a much more of an excitable sound with a bit more of a boost in the bass and in the highs. It's still very tasteful. The bass is still very punchy. So I'm thinking that this is almost more energetic than the Comet in a sense. It's a very agreeable sound. I think it's quite well tuned. So this is a bit of surprise. This is the Campfire Audio Polaris, or I guess the Polaris Mark II. And what I'm hearing is that the bass is actually thicker on the Polaris, whereas the high frequencies, which I sometimes found accentuated on the Mark I version, the upper mids or the highs, are actually a little pulled back in this version. I would say actually the new IO has more excitable high frequencies. So now this is a kind of much thicker sort of sound. The bass is not quite as thick as, say, the Atlas, but it is more trending towards that kind of sound. So here I am with Caleb. He's the Vice President of Campfire Audio. Hi, Caleb.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. I was going to ask Caleb, can you take us through the sort of new range that you've just announced here at the Spring Festival with your new products?
Sure. Yeah, we're really excited about this new range, and it's kicking off the new direction for basically the rest of this year. We're kicking it off with the IO, which is a new dual driver, small tweeter paired with a really like oversized BA for the kind of a woofer, like, getting that extra low frequency. And we're really excited about the sound of it. It's a really fun sounding earphone, and it's really like easy to listen to, and I think it looks pretty good too.
Yeah, when I had a listen, it was definitely a sort of exciting kind of sound. It sounds like, it worked for all sorts of genres, but I think it'll be a lot of fun for electronic and that sort of thing, pop and
I think it's an enjoyable earphone that it's still in that audiophile like vein, of the sort of Campfire sound. So I don't think it's compromised in any like way sonically. Of course, as you go up, you might get more resolution, you might get more spatial cues as you move up in our line. But I really think that we've really like done a nice job of, bringing that sort of Campfire audio, like natural, fun, sort of north and neutral, enjoyable thing to this price.
Okay, and how about the new Polaris? So I had a listen. That was very different. It was different from the what I expected from the original Polaris. So what were you aiming with that?
Yeah, this is a total like redo of the Polaris. Even though like we've kept the name Polaris and kept the sort of really striking blue color, a lot of the internals are different, right? So we've gone from an 8.5 to a 9.2 dynamic driver. A lot of the internal geometry has been updated and improved, and so it's a really like. That's a spacious sound, but it has lots of bass. You're not going to miss the bass.
Yep, definitely. No, I did not miss that bass.
And it's really fun, like listening to like modern stuff, and especially as you acclimate it to the sound of this new Polaris, it's really like hard to go back. Like it's kind of ends up being like a one-way street.
Yeah.
It might not be for everyone because it's really like it's basically like riding around like a hi-fi system with like a subwoofer, like that's hanging out, that it's like it's there, like it doesn't like bleed in or color the mids, but it's certainly very prominently in the picture.
Right. And how about the new Andromeda? I understand it sounds the same, but you've updated the body design across the entire new line. So
there's a number of like cosmetic changes that we've made. A lot of minor like sort of engineering like on the internal of the earphone, but some of the external things are updating the MMCX connector to our new round one, doing a finer finish on a lot of the machining paths and removing those, and just kind of elevating the fit and finish of all of our products, just taking them up just that notch higher.
Nice.
Yeah.
So with the new line, I've noticed that you as opposed to where the Orion and the Jupiter and the kind of Andromeda broke down, where it was a relatively consistent sound, it was kind of like a better version as you went along. This time around, you've decided to go for quite different signatures with all three of these earphones. What was the reasoning behind that change?
Yeah, I think that we want to make sure that we have a full range, and so part of that is having individual identity of each earphone, and so that instead of just making Andromeda and Andromeda Light and Andromeda Lighter, like we can do a lot of different sounds because there are a lot of ways to make a really good sounding earphone. And there are a lot of different tastes. Like I prefer certain earphones for certain genres, and I think that there's something that can be said about approaching the problem from a number of different ways.
Right.
And we hope that people can have like the IO next to their Andromeda, right? Or have the Polaris like next to their IO, right? And have a sort of a range of earphones that they can enjoy all of them.
Sure. Okay, thank you so much, Caleb.
Yeah, great, thanks.
So here we have the previous version of the Andromeda and the new version. The first change I can see immediately is the new stainless steel spout, which is shiny, much like it is on the Andro S. And a lot of the machining has been refined, so you can see on the original Andromeda there's more of the kind of visible marks of the CNC mill, whereas here it's much smoother, and the actual MMCX connector has been changed here to a round connector. As we look at the underside of the earphone body, we see that a lot of the edges have been smoothed out, which is going to be happy news for a lot of people who might find that the edges are a bit rough on the original body of Campfire Audio designs. Personally, what I do is I use a longer tip so that I don't have any issues with it rubbing, but I think that this will help a lot of people. So here I am with Mr. Ken Ball, the CEO of Campfire Audio, a bit of a rock star in the audiophile world. Ken, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming by.
Yep. So, one thing I've always found about Campfire Audio, compared to a lot of the other kind of audio companies, is that you're relatively open, I would say, with your approach of how you kind of talk about your product development and what's going on with your products. So what's the sort of philosophy behind that?
Well, I mean, we want to be, we're also like our customers in that we are very into this hobby.
Right.
And we like to geek out just like our customers do. So part of that is sharing the technology and what it's all about with the customer. We're also smaller and more intimate.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? What's the one day I'd like to be able to go to Portland and visit your kind of like. What's it like over there? Like,
it's great in the spring and summer. In the winter it's rainy, but Portland's great. It's a great city and lots to do and good environment. It's a beautiful city. So it's a great place to have a business. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely part of our DNA. Portland.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Very proud of it.
How does that? Because you print it on every product that you make. Proudly made in Portland, Oregon. How does that inform?
I don't know. I mean,
because everything I know about Portland is from Portlandia. So
yeah, it's a little true. But I mean, Portland's got its own vibe, And so that's part of our product.
Okay.
So it's in there. So yeah, we're proud of Portland, and we have an open door if anyone wants to come in and chit chat and listen to some stuff. We're happy to have people come by.
Yeah, I might take you up on that next time I'm in the States.
Yep.
Last question was going to be, when I listen to a lot of the Campfire stuff, I think there must be some kind of secret bass heads hiding over at Campfire Audio. What kind of music do you listen to?
Oh, I listen to a lot of different things, but I like hip hop and electronica quite a bit.
Okay. Yeah, that might explain a fair bit about some of the the products. Yeah, which one's your personal favorite in the lineup?
It kind of. Oh, you mean the earphone?
Yeah.
Solaris.
The Solaris. Right.
It's my baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What was the kind of like development that went behind the thinking that went behind
it? A very long process to try to make something better than the Andromeda, which is super difficult, right? So it took a long time, but it's I wouldn't say it's better than the Andromeda, but it's definitely like kind of expands upon the base of the Andromeda in sort of a way.
Okay.
We're really proud of the Solaris and what it has to offer. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much,
Yeah,
Ken.
thanks.
You have a great time at the
Yeah,
fair.
Thanks for stopping by. Nice to meet you.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Yeah. Thank you.